So for this first supplementary lecture, I wanted to go over the big picture. Why do we study Buddhist philosophy? And go over some tips on how to make our studies more effective. So as for why we study, one very famous quotation from Nagarjuna's Mula Majjhimika, he says, "Enthused by great compassion, you taught the sublime Dharma to overcome all wrong views. To you, Gautam Buddha, I prostrate." This stanza from the Mula Majjhimika, composed by Arya Nagarjuna, is actually the first thing that His Holiness the Dalai Lama utters when he wakes up every morning. In it, it contains a one stanza encapsulation of the entire Buddha Dharma. So the first line, enthused by great compassion. So compassion is the mind that wishes others to be free from suffering. So here, enthused by great compassion, it shows the motivation for all of the Buddha's actions. The Buddha wants all sentient beings to be free from suffering. And so, what does he do? But he teaches the sublime Dharma to overcome all wrong views. So although the Buddha wants all sentient beings to be free from suffering, he then inquired into the causes for why sentient beings suffer, and then saw that actually at the root of it, the suffering is caused by wrong and mistaken views. And so the teaching of the Buddha Dharma was then to help sentient beings overcome all of these wrong views. As it says in another sutra, the Buddhas do not wash away negativities with water, nor do they clear away suffering with their hands, nor do they transfer their realizations to us. Rather, the Buddhas show the true path. By that alone are beings liberated. So this thought of the root of our suffering being a mistaken and distorted views about reality is one of the central themes within Buddhist thought. And therefore, to overcome those wrong views is the essence of the Buddha Dharma. Now, in terms of the wrong views that form the basis of our suffering, we have what is called the four distortions, whereby we tend to grasp on to things that are actually impure in nature or unclean in nature as being pure or clean. We grasp to things that are actually suffering in nature as being happiness. We grasp to things that are impermanent in nature as being permanent. And we grasp onto things that actually lack an independent self to have that kind of independent self. To make matters worse, the way that things appear to our ordinary minds actually helps to fuel this ignorance. We have strong grasping to permanent nature of phenomena because every day when we wake up in the morning and look at the mirror, it looks like we haven't changed relative to last night. So this thought of the appearance and reality not being consistent is why we have to then use reasoning and analysis to question and inquire into the true nature of phenomena. Do things exist as they appear or not? And therefore, the study of the Buddha Dharma is essential, because it is in the Buddha's teachings that the Buddha and other great masters point out the inconsistencies or the discrepancies between how things appear and how they actually exist. As it says in the Dhammapada, although one is an intelligent person, one doesn't understand until she learns what is right from wrong. Just as those who have eyes can see all the objects with a lamp, so too understanding occurs from hearing the Dharma of wrongs and rights. So the Dharma is the essential tool that helps us identify our mistaken and distorted views, and then gives us the tools to gradually overcome and eventually abandon all of these wrong conceptions. When these wrong conceptions are overcome, so too all suffering is overcome. So fundamentally, that is why we need to understand and study Dharma. But even more than that, even more than just overcoming our own wrong views, we should at the beginning have a motivation that as we increase in our wisdom and other good qualities, we'll be able to benefit others in more profound and extensive ways. The greatest way to do that is by reaching the state of our highest potential, that of full enlightenment or Buddhahood. Because then and only then will we be able to help beings in the best and most effective way. And that is exactly what the Buddha did, motivated by great compassion or the wish to free others from suffering, and seeing that the root of suffering was in the distorted ways of viewing reality within other beings' mind streams. He taught the sublime Dharma to help sentient beings overcome the wrong views. And that is why the Arya Nagarjuna pays homage to Buddha in the Mula Majjhimika. So now at the beginning of any study session, anytime you go and attend a lecture, anytime you meditate, you should constantly remind yourself that the purpose of my life is to benefit all sentient beings. And in order to benefit sentient beings in the best way, in the most effective way, I must first develop my positive qualities to their highest potential and remove all of the faults from my mind. That is the attainment of Buddhahood or enlightenment. And then think that whatever positive energy that you create during the time that you study or attend lectures and so forth, may that only become the cause for all sentient beings, vast as the vastness of space, to attain the highest state of full enlightenment. If you do that at the beginning of every session, then those sessions become very meaningful. They become endowed with the mind of bodhicitta, or the altruistic wish to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And those actions then, once they're conjoined with bodhicitta, even if during the study session you don't understand the words that are there in the text, they will become the cause for you to attain the highest and most perfectly complete enlightenment. Now that is why we study. As for how to study, I would strongly encourage you to complement the required reading and lectures that you are being given at your respective centers with other materials on the same and related topics. For example, the first module that we are doing at the Bangalore Center is the module on the Heart Sutra, and we're going over a commentary by Tendar Larampa. However, especially for the Heart Sutra, there are many other commentaries, both contemporary and ancient, that you can also and should also read. And right now, there will also be many different lectures by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and many other great masters on the Heart Sutra. So I would encourage you to read different commentaries, listen to different lectures, and then compare the points that are in common as well as the points that differ amongst the various presentations. And then when questions come up, make sure that you jot down in your notebooks the questions and doubts and vocabulary that you don't understand. And then next time you have an opportunity to speak with a teacher or a teaching assistant at your respective center, you can then have your questions as the basis for furthering your understanding and knowledge. One of my teachers, the late abbot of Kopan Monastery in Nepal, Lama Lundrup, he recommended that as we study, we make sure that we understand every single word in the texts that we are studying. So the way you read a Dharma text is very different from reading a novel. Instead of trying to read 500 pages over a weekend, it's much better to do something small every day, even 1 to 2 pages, but really take your time to understand every word that is there on the page. And then, throughout the rest of the day, even when you're in line at lunch or on public transportation going to and from work, you should reflect on what you've read and try to go over the main points over and over again in your mind. And in that way, you will continually familiarize yourself with the key points of Dharma. So let's leave it at that for now. Those are just a few points about the why and how to study Dharma. I hope you found it useful, and I look forward to seeing you next time. May all beings be happy.